Troubleshooting and Auditing in Excel 2013. With all the functions and formulas Excel 2013 allows you to use in worksheets and workbooks, there's little doubt that you're going to have some errors. If you have a lot of data contained in your worksheets and workbooks, it can be a chore to go back and isolate each error and then take steps to fix it. Finding and fixing errors could wind up being just as time-consuming as entering and calculating the data. At least it would be if Excel 2013 didn't offer you the tools you need to help you efficiently audit and troubleshoot your workbooks and data. In this lesson, we'll take a look at how you can add and remove tracer arrows to trace data and formulas. Use error checking to find errors. Find and correct circular references. Use trace error. Use step-by-step formula processing, and use the watch window. Tracer arrows allow you to trace problems in a worksheet. If there are errors in formulas or things aren't working as they should within your worksheet, tracer arrows can help you find the problem. They do so by helping you trace the path of your data. Tracer arrows show you how data in one cell is connected to data in other cells. In Excel 2013, there are two types of tracer arrows. Dependent tracer arrows show you which cells are dependent upon the value in the cell you've selected. They show you the cells that come after the cell you've selected and are dependent on the data from the cell you've selected. Precedent tracer arrows work in the opposite way. They show you what cells feed into the cell you've selected. The cell where the arrow starts is the first cell that feeds into the cell where you selected. The arrow ends in the cell you selected. Adding or removing tracer arrows is easier than it may sound. We're going to first cover how to add dependent tracer arrows, followed by precedent tracer arrows, as well as how to remove them. Take a look at our worksheet here. We want to find out which cells are dependent on cell G4. To do this, we're going to go to the Formulas tab. Go to the Auditing section and click on Trace Dependents. As you can see, we get a message that there aren't any formulas that refer to the active cell. Instead, let's click on cell B3 and then click Trace Dependents. We can now see all the cells that are dependent on cell B3. Since we created the worksheet earlier in the course, we know that there are formulas who rely on the data in cell B3 to perform their calculations. To remove a dependent tracer arrow, go to the Remove Arrows in the Auditing group and click on the downward arrow beside it. From the drop-down menu, choose Remove Dependent Arrows. If you select Remove Arrows, it will remove both dependent and precedent arrows. To add a precedent tracer arrow, click on a cell. Remember, Excel will show you all cells that feed into the one you've selected. We're going to select G4 again. Go to the Formulas tab, click on Trace Precedents in the Auditing group. You can now see which cells feed into cell G4. To remove a precedent tracer arrow, go to Remove Arrows in the Auditing group and click on the drop-down arrow beside it. From this menu, choose Remove Precedent Arrows. Excel gives you quite a few ways to audit your worksheets and check for errors. The first way is using error checking. Error checking points out all the errors that may occur in your cells or formulas in cells, then allows you to get help with the error, ignore the error, copy the formula from the cell, or edit the formula in the formula bar. To use error checking, go to the Formulas tab and click on the downward arrow beside error checking in the Formula Auditing group. As you can see, Excel pulls up the first cell where there's an error. If you don't have any errors, it will show this message. Now let's click on error checking. As you can see, Excel pulls up the first cell where there's an error. It tells us this has an error because we're trying to divide by 0. We have a few options here. We can go Edit in Formula Bar to change the formula here. Once we've updated it, we can click on Resume and the error check will now be completed. The actions you can take depend on what type of error you get. For example, if you get an inconsistent formula error, you can click on Copy Formula from above and it will copy the formula from the cell above it. However, let's change this and click on error checking again. Now let's click Help on this error. The Excel help files will open. This is a very generalized help about using error checking in Excel. We have a button here that says Show Calculation Steps, which shows you how it actually gets calculated. The next button is the Ignore error. If you click this, the error will be left in the worksheet. The final button is Edit in Formula Bar. This enables you to correct the formula in the formula bar. If you click Next, it will take you to the next area in the worksheet. In this example, we're just going to close the window. In Excel 2013, a circular reference is an error that occurs when a cell is dependent on itself to calculate a formula, so it's unable to display the result of a calculation in the cell. Here's an example. We want to add B2 plus C2. We've placed the formula inside C2, which means C2 is where we want the result to be displayed. When we push enter, this is what happens. If we press OK, it'll show a 0 inside the cell. At the bottom of the spreadsheet, we can see that a circular reference has occurred. We can also go to the circular references in the error checking drop-down box under the Formula tab. Whenever you error check in an Excel worksheet, you can go to Formulas and then Error Checking and then Circular References to check for circular references. As you can see here, Excel will show you where the circular references are in your worksheet. You can click on any that are listed and Excel will take you to them. If you click on C2, we're taken to that cell. If you get a green pop-out signal that appears, you can click on that, which gives you options. Otherwise, you can click on Error Checking. To remove this, we can just delete the formula. Whenever we see an error in a cell such as value and ref, we can easily enough fix these types of errors by going to the Error Checking dropdown under the Formulas tab and selecting Trace Error. This will make either a precedent or dependent error appear in the worksheet. In this screen here, I've purposely changed the value to give me an error. I can then go to Error Checking and then click on Trace Error. You can see we have precedent tracer arrows. We know this because the arrow starts in a cell and then ends in the cell where there's an error. The precedent tracer arrow lets us know that we may need to check those cells when fixing the error. Once you find and fix the error, the precedent tracer arrow disappears. If you have a long formula in Excel, it can be hard to go back and see exactly what the formula is doing. Take a look at the formula here. In this formula, you can see that we have a lot going on. We have more than one calculation, plus we have a lot of cell references. If you want to see exactly what's going on in the formula as Excel processes the formula step by step, we can go to the Formulas tab, then click on Evaluate Formula in the Formula Auditing group. We see this dialog box. In the dialog box, we see our formula. We also see part of the formula is underlined. Click on the Evaluate button. Excel now evaluates the part of the formula that was underlined. We can see the data that's in the cell now instead of just the cell reference. Click on the Evaluate button again. We can now see the next thing that's going on in the formula. Again, we can see the actual value instead of the cell reference. In addition, you are seeing in the Evaluate Formula window is the steps Excel takes to process the formula. Click Evaluate. We can go through like this and evaluate each part of the formula to see what's going on. If you click the Step In button, Excel will step into the part of the formula that you're looking at, as you can see here. The top field shows us that we've just stepped in to this cell here. The bottom field shows us that the value in this is 92%. You can then click Step Out and keep evaluating your formula. As you evaluate your formula by clicking the Evaluate button, you are also watching the steps Excel takes to process your formula. As you can see this screen here, Excel will process and calculate the formula. You can click Restart button to evaluate the formula again, or click Close. The Watch window in Excel 2013 lets you watch particular cells to see if the value in those cells change. To access the Watch window, go to the Formulas tab and then click on the Watch window. As you can see, the Watch window tells you the workbook and worksheet where the cell is located, the name, the actual cell that's being watched, the value of that cell, as well as the formula contained in that cell. This allows you to not only watch a cell, but also know exactly where the cell is located, as well as its purpose, for example, to calculate an average. Because the Watch window lists workbooks as well as worksheets, you can keep watching cells as you work in other workbooks. If the data in a Watch cell changes, you'll see it in the Watch window. You can move the watch window around Excel and dock it above, below, or to the side of your worksheet. This can be helpful as you're checking your workbook for errors. You can use the watch window and see those errors are being fixed. The watch window is also helpful if you have a formula that uses cells from other worksheets in its calculation. As you change values of other cells that feed into the cell you're watching, you can see the value of the watch cell change in the watch window. To add a cell watch into the watch window, select the cell, then click Add Watch in the watch window. You'll then see the address of the cell in the Add Watch dialog box. To add a cell into the watch window, select the cell, and then click the Add Watch in the dialog box. You'll then see the address of the cell in the Add Watch dialog box. Click Add. You then see that cell in the watch window here.